What's happening, Nick Olson, Chupacabra Offroad, and today we're talking Polaris. What do they need to do to be on top in the side-by-side market for 2020? So 2019 was an interesting year for Polaris. They came under a lot more competition with releases from Honda and Kawasaki in the non-turbo market. Can-Am stepped up their game even more. And later in the year at their big dealer meeting, they launched their new Pro XP chassis, which all new vehicle, but unfortunately was met with a pretty lukewarm response. A lot of people didn't like how it looked. The pricing was pretty high, and it was the premium version in terms of price point, but it only came available in a 64-inch option, which for a lot of the high-end customers, particularly us in the Southwest, we always associate premium and high-end now with the 72-inch version because we've had the X3 and the Turbo S for the last few years. So from what I'm told, Polaris, the Pro XP didn't sell that well, and now they've seen what's gone on and they can make adjustments as we move into 2020 and beyond. On the bright side for Polaris, they had a lot of success in racing. Again, they're under a lot more competition with Can-Am, but they end up winning the overall championship for the Best in the Desert series. And I think a lot of that racing has led to a lot of technology and improvements that have filtered right into the Pro XP as well as Can-Am with their X3 models. So a lot of people aren't ever going to race, but we love all the benefits of belts that don't break near as often, cooler running temperatures, more horsepower, higher top speed. And racing is really where all of this comes from with technology, with them working on their CVT. The big topic for a long time is when are these cars going to go away from CVT? Transmission's the way to go. But I think with Can-Am and Polaris being so competitive, they're just going to keep investing more in making the CVT systems run better, run cooler, more efficient. It's a really good way to skin the cat. If you do burn a belt, it's only a couple $100. You can clutch and re-gear it for only a couple $100. Really good benefits for the average customer, and if you think about it, the performance is pretty exceptional. I mean, a lot of these race cars are weighing in easily over 1,800 pounds, and Phil Blurton, who won the Best in the Desert Vegas to Reno this year, he drove his No Limit X3 to first place, which was about 23rd overall, and he was less than an hour and 35 minutes slower than the fastest trophy truck competitor, Bryce Menzies, who was in an $800,000 four-wheel drive trophy truck. So, I mean, a lot of people are still gonna make fun of belts, but what more could you ask for? I mean, these vehicles are doing over 100 miles an hour, way down race cars, which are heavier than the stock cars most all of us drive. And we're talking that level of speed and performance with no belt failure. So in my opinion, that's amazing. Those are only going to get better thanks to the racing, thanks to the competition, thanks to the R&D and development of these companies. Polaris made some big gains. The Pro XP is significantly better than the Turbo S and the Turbo version that it's replaced, and good for all of us. For all of our day-to-day off-roading, these things are getting pushed harder than they ever have, and thanks to this technology from racing, they're holding up better. So starting off, it's pretty obvious that Polaris needs to launch a Pro XP and a 72-inch wide version. I think they need to do that without increasing the price. Now, I know the corporate bean counters are not going to agree with me on that one, and it would probably be a huge profitability hit if they were to do so. But if you think about it, if the Pro XP was 72 inches wide right now, there's still less horsepower than an X3. It's not near as good looking as an X3. It doesn't have the shock stroke. And yes, it does have ride command and live valve suspension, which is really cool technology. The interior is much improved over the old models. But I don't know if the customer is going to buy a 72-inch wide Pro XP if it's thousands more than an X3 195 horsepower RR version. So Polaris, I think you've really got to sharpen the pencil. I think you might see the Turbo S go away. They might change a lot of price points up. When you do see a 72-inch wide offering, you're going to see even more options, more different flavors, harder for dealers to stock all these models. It makes it even more confusing for the customer, that it ends up being a lot more overlap. So I think something's got to give. I think you need to get rid of the Turbo S, roll out the Pro XP in 72, and then make sure you have some price points 25,000 and below, so you're keeping customers excited. Next up, the Pro XP needs to get the horsepower increased to over 200. Now, especially if they did it first, I think it would definitely have some punch to be the first OEM to hit the mythical 200 horsepower mark. I mean, when you've got 181, 195, 15 horsepower isn't as big of a deal as it was a couple of years ago when we only had 90, 100, 110. But I still think horsepower by far and large is what sells these. Guys like bragging to their buddies that they've got the highest horsepower model available. And while personally I'm not a big horsepower guy, I think it's cool. I do think it will give the Pro XP some extra street cred. It'll make it look more appealing and more exciting. And it probably wouldn't cost that much for Polaris just to bump it up and be the horsepower king of 2020. Now, I know I said that I think the Turbo S will go away, but if they cannot offer a 72-inch version of the Pro XP at around a $25,000 price point for 4-seater, $23,000 on a 2-seater, they definitely need to keep the Turbo S Velocity model. I think it's really important that we have a value option, cheaper 72-inch wide. I think that's where the market's headed. I think there's a lot of people that have 64-inch wide vehicles that want to upgrade or they want to be around that price point and have all the performance benefits of 72. So Polaris, don't get rid of Turbo S, or if you do, the Pro XP's definitely got to be at a value price point. No matter what Polaris does, whether they keep the Turbo S or they get rid of it, all the Pro XP models need to come stock with 32-inch tires. This is their premier model. Like I said, it's had a lukewarm response. I'm talking about items here that are going to really make this car stand out more in the crowd and change the perception of what most customers have already. And adding a 72-inch wide version will help significantly. Preventing the price from getting sky high will help. And I think offering some stock 32-inch tires like the Turbo S is a big deal. Lets all of us customers know that this thing is beefy off the showroom floor. All of us are pretty much running 32-inch tires at least. We've got 33 on our Turbo Twins. Guys are running 35s and even more in other environments. So Pro XP, if it's gonna be the new evolution for Polaris RZR, biggest brand, most sales in the game, you guys need to step up and put 32-inch tires on all Pro XPs that roll off the line for 21 model year. So not to leave out the 64-inch market with the Polaris XP 1000 and Turbo, those are awesome vehicles. They have a lot of value for the money, and those are a huge portion of Polaris's overall sales. So I would like to see a few of the higher end features from either the Pro XP or the Turbo S trickle down into these models, whether that's updated seats, some real 4-point harnesses, certain things that are going to add some value so that that customer who's spending that money on the 1000 and the Turbo, they're a little bit more of a value customer. They still want to have a great experience, have a safe experience. I'd like to see some of these features just trickle down and make it into those. So they did have a little bit of a refresh with the new front fascia and rear fascia, but by far and large, those vehicles have been the exact same since late 2013. So a little extra won't hurt, and interior would be a good place to start with those seats that we've all come to grow and not really like. Finally, Polaris, what I think you should do is launch a 2-seat version of a really high-end edition, call it a racer edition. This needs to be your peak branding, marketing, flagship model, kind of like what Can-Am has done brilliantly with the XRC. And in general, when Can-Am started off with the X3, they started at the very top and then kind of worked their way down. I think Polaris has gone the opposite way. And Polaris, why not make 500 or 1,000 just to see how they go? Make them a premium price point. I don't even care if it's $33,000, $35,000, 72-inch wide. Come stock with 33-inch tires, maybe even come stock with 35-inch tires. Let all the other OEMs know that you're not playing around. This will be the model that everyone will talk about. You know, it will really influence and change perception of the Pro XP, I think, in the broader market and make the Pro XP look a lot cooler. I'm sure that they have the ability to do it without adding too much to the car in terms of overall price, but I think that that would be amazing. Do some really cool colors, one-off colors, so everybody knows that when that guy has this new racer edition that he's got the top dog. Really just kind of step up, maybe change the look of the doors, adding a full door, matching with a nice roof on the stock cage, or changing the design of that cage. Just to give it a little bit different of a look, a little bit extra panache. I think that would go a long way. I think that's the one that Polaris can point to and say, hey, look, we've got this top dog that's better than anything, comes with the biggest tires, 72-inch wide, more horsepower. I mean, guys, what more can we offer? So that's what I think they should do. Get away from the bean counting, appeal to us passionate enthusiasts. I mean, if you're a dirt biker, you know KTM, Honda have factory editions. They don't make a lot of these, but they're awesome. You know, they sell out right away. The dealers love them. They make a lot of money on them. And it's a really cool branding piece. So I think Polaris needs that. I think they've been missing on that, trying to like slowly edge their way up to the high performance market and going with the bulk of sales in a little bit lower end of the market. So Polaris, launch something really cool, over the top. It's going to get people really excited, all your Polaris faithful, and be a great arguing piece when people talk about what's better. So that's what we think Polaris needs to do to be on top for 2020. Comment below, let us know what you think. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe. We've got a lot more coming your way.